Hey, everybody, welcome to a Friday Night Cup of Ray. I'm out here in front of the Brass Captain out here in Madeira Way, just across the street from the Saltwater Hippie. It's a Friday night here in Tampa Bay. And I don't know if you guys and girls have heard, but we're getting ready for a little football game on Sunday between your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Falcons of Atlanta. And, of course, we know what happened already. We played the Falcons, a divisional foe, once already this year. And, of course, Koo wins it in a walk-off. Oh, I hate to say that walk-off field goal. And they win 16-13. Expect different results this time. Of course, this time the game is there in Atlanta at Megatron's backside or butthole, as Rick Hughes used to like to say. I kind of teased this show, and I'll tell you guys and girls what. The big news here is, big Madeira Beach fire truck, the Sharks locking it down out here. Thank you for your service, guys and gals. But the big news this week again was Florida State, getting kind of run out of the playoffs there last season or last week, if you will. And I had the luxury of being on live from down at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill down here on Central Avenue. By the way, how's my sound? Can you guys just let me? I'd hate to go back and somebody say, we couldn't hear you at all. Of course, some of you will pose that actually makes the show a lot better. I can check my sound out here in a minute. But I had the luxury of being on the air last Saturday. Of course, it was early or midway or late in the first quarter there when Alabama, of course, gets the lead over Georgia 7-3. And so the natural progression of a show, just like this Cup of Ray here on a Friday night from out here at the Brass Captain, is to whatever's on your mind. What's going on? What are we talking about? Of course, we're talking about the Heisman Trophy tomorrow there at the Downtown Athletic Club. They're going to be giving away the Heisman Trophy. And we talk about Bo Nix. We talk about Michael Penix Jr., of course, the Tampa Tech kid right here, born and raised in Dade County, of course, goes to Indiana, transfers to Washington, and a phenomenal career he's had. And I would pose also the LSU quarterback, and that being one Jayden Daniels. And, of course, Peter Blake and I, a little bit jaded maybe because of, once again, Sports Web will be locking it down with our coverage of the ReliaQuest Bowl here in 2023, or it'll be 2024, of course, New Year's Day, between the Wisconsin Badgers and, of course, the Tigers of LSU. This kid, Jayden Daniels, has completely 100% earned the Heisman this year. And we talk about he wins the AP award for the number one football player in all of college football. And of course, against the Florida Gators, he has 5 touchdowns, accounts for over 350 yards passing and over 200 yards rushing in just that one game. First player in FBS history to ever do that. And this season, Jayden Daniels is the first player in FBS history to have both over 3,000 yards passing as well as over 1,000 yards rushing. Pretty phenomenal year that this kid has had, right? Jayden Daniels, quarterback for LSU, that we'll see here in the ReliaQuest Bowl again here on January 1st. There, the Badgers versus LSU. But I take it back to last Saturday when I had the luxury of having been on when Alabama gets that lead. And, of course, I posed with Big Oscar from the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection, and some of the other people I was interviewing out there on the sidewalk. And I said, well, what if Alabama beats Georgia and they win the SEC title? Does that open it up for the committee? Of course, the committee, the first time in history, all 13 committee members locked into a room and watched all the games, which I would pose as romantic as it sounds. They should be doing it anyway. But next year, the playoffs expand to 12 games. And I posed last Saturday, I said, this is the committee's chance. It makes it easier for them to go ahead. Alabama beat Georgia. They're not the clear number one. It opens it up, and then Washington sneaks up in there. And now, of course, you got Michigan, you got Alabama, Washington, and you got Texas as your 4, Florida State finishing at 5. So I'm talking about, again, Jayden Daniels. That's set in stone, right? We know that's already what happened. And here's the killer about that. And I said I would pose a new, let me get these. Rob Thompson. Sounds great. Rob, brother, thank you very much. And thank you, Rob. It was great talking to you today. I appreciate you, and I'm glad it sounds okay. I appreciate that. Ben Cornett from the Ben Zone says, Bucko Ray, what's happening, my guy? You love this shirt, Ben. I know you do. I love this shirt. I've had it for I've actually had this shirt since throwbacks were still throw-ups. Throw-ups or throwbacks. Rob Thompson says, Ray Kennedy, what's up, buddy? The Buccaneers will win Sunday to take back our division 100%. And as much as I want to talk about how this is the Buccaneers Super Bowl versus the Falcons on Sunday, we got a running game going, and we kind of saw it last week. It's like all of a sudden somebody woke Dave Canales and the team up, and they said, hey, guess what, guys? If the defense is putting 9 or 10 in the box, run Trey Palmer on an end around. Run Rashad White outside. Open up the defense, run where they're not. If they're all inside, run it outside, soften that defense up. And then when the defense expands outside, then you start pounding them up the middle with Keyshawn Vaughn or Rachaad White, or you start getting your Chris Godwin passes. One of the narratives this week is that, Chris Godwin's not getting the passes thrown to him. He's not running these routes. And here's the thing. We go back to a game earlier this season, and Chris Godwin was getting those passes. And whether it's the opposing team's defenses are choosing to shut Chris Godwin down, or if it's just the way that Baker Mayfield or this Buccaneers offense is running, Chris Godwin is still a dog. He's still going to get his share of balls. And we need him to get his share of balls there in Atlanta this week versus those Falcons. Ben Cornett says, who's got the better beard, Ray or Peter? Bro, I'm telling you what, Ben, let me come in close because I'll tell you what. I talked to my boy Peter again, Peter Blake from the Sports Web. Him and I are once again, for like the 5th year in a row, credentialed to cover the ReliaQuest Bowl. And we've seen him, it's and great matchups. Last year it was Mississippi State versus the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Then, of course, we had before that PJ Fleck and Minnesota. We've covered some great games going back to when it was the Outback Bowl. But in 2023 or 2024, we got a fantastic matchup between the LSU Tigers and, of course, the Wisconsin Badgers. And you talk about a kid like Jayden Daniels who's up for this Heisman, who 100% should have this Heisman trophy. Ben, thanks for commenting. Keep them coming in, guys. I want to know your guys' and girls' thoughts about this. But I'm going to work it back to the Florida State thing. The killer thing for me is, even as I posed the argument last Saturday, not argument, I wasn't posing it, I wasn't arguing for it, but I said I can see how this committee of the 13 could pose that they could put Florida State out. Because Bama beat Georgia and there's so much stuff at the top we want, and of course, and I even said go back to TCU in 2022 last year, and what happened when TCU gets in there and they get beat. Here's the heartbreak about your Florida State Seminoles and them not being in this. George Travis just got injured 5 minutes ago, and Florida State was still trying to get used to that. Literally a couple of weeks after that terrible injury, of course, ends the season. We're looking for that dog to get back, having a phenomenal year. One would pose at some point here late in the year that he himself was in that Heisman talk. But the Florida State Seminoles would have had almost a month to get ready. In this case, they would have been playing against Michigan, right, at number 1. They'd have had an entire month to get ready. And they'd have gotten their second-string quarterback back. But even if it would have been a third or a fourth-string quarterback, they'd have had an entire month to get ready for that game. And that's the heartbreak, is because it wasn't like Florida State was just one player and the rest was, lucky, throwing the rest of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. This is a very solidly stacked Florida State team. Now, I'm not going there because I'm trying to that scab is still not healed. But I'm posing that you got a Michael Penix Jr. with Washington. And again, Tampa kid, Texas Tech, Tampa Tech goes to Indiana. We want to see it. Some would pose that would be possibly if the Buccaneers are drafting a quarterback in the first round of the 2024 draft, that Penix Jr. might be the guy. And so you got Washington in the Final Four. And since we're seeding college playoff games based on playoffs, since we're seeding them based on who will get the better run or get the better Vegas odds or get the better, whatever, then maybe that Heisman committee, maybe they're seeding a Heisman because, wouldn't it be great if Washington's in the Final Four? They got a great team. They got a good front set. They got a good front on the offense and defensive sides. They got a dog at quarterback in Penix Jr. Wouldn't it be romantic if he was your Heisman and then he slid in? And of course, don't forget, going back to Lamar Jackson, there's been several 3-loss teams or 3-loss Heisman Trophy winners. Just because you're on a 3-loss team like these LSU Tigers are, doesn't mean that should exclude Jayden Daniels from that Heisman Trophy. But I just pose that if that's how we're seeding these college playoffs, not based on the team that deserves to be there, like an undefeated Florida State Seminoles team, 100% deserves to be in that Final Four and shooting these playoffs in 2023. But, Penix Jr., wouldn't it be a nice narrative to have him as your Heisman Trophy winner? I think that the whole world has recognized the things that Jayden Daniels did. And of course, again, I do have a dog in that fight because we will be covering the ReliaQuest Bowl for y'all here in the Sports Web. We'll be over there at Raymond James Stadium. We'll be over there for the pressers on, Bowl week here in a couple of weeks. So we're going to be over there talking to a Jayden Daniels. We're going to be over there looking at your LSU Tigers, and we're going to be over there. Go Bucks, brother. Yes, go Bucks. We get the victory, right, this Sunday? Yes, Bucks fans. Excellent. What's up, bro? Man, how you been? Good to see you. Happy Friday. How about them Bucks? Man, hey, anyone else out there? Just you? Did he ever tell you about the night I'm sitting over here doing a show and I'm on live on the air and, and he came in? He's texting me like a creeper here. You want to come in and say hi? Come on in here, my man.
Hello, y'all. My name's Timothy Patrick Palmer. Born and raised right here in Madeira Beach, Reddington Shores. I commercial fish for a living. Absolutely no. I go offshore for about 7, 8, 9 days at a time, rod and reeling one fish at a time. You're ever out here on the beach eating some grouper or some snapper, there's a good chance it came from my boat. I offload my fish down in Johns Pass at Don's Dock. If you're local around here, you can always go down there and ask for Sailor 2 fish. We got another boat called the Never Enough. Help yourself to come on down and ask for either of our fish. It's a lot fresher than the other boats that go out for twice as long as we do. But no, it's a good time. I love what I do. And no, born and raised Bucks life, wouldn't represent anyone different.
Let me tell you something. My first Bucks game was 2004. Great game, gnarly. Let me tell you something about these beach boys out here. We support the Bucks. We kill fish. We rock out. We fucking smoke the filter off Marlboro Red and have a good time, baby. Come on.
No, what were you saying? You're
talking about the New York Times piece they did on you all when you took the ships out during a hurricane.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So the last hurricane, we had moved the boat from where it stays down to one of our local little boat ramps and stuff. It has a floating dock, so we sat down there for about 2 days, 2.5, 3 days, rode the storm out and everything like that. I literally got put in the Washington State Post and everything like that. Had a big old ordeal with the city and everything. Right when we pulled the boat up to the dock. Yeah, so as soon as we pulled the boat up to the dock, there was a lot of sheriffs, all the sheriffs and everybody from around came up, causing a scene. And I was like, look, guys, it's Marchman Law, it's written there in the book. I was like, I don't know if you know what you're talking about till like the first guy. So basically there were six cop cars that came out, trucks and cars. And I was like, look, I was like, it's written here in our book, we're in a state of disaster, it's supposed to hit where we are. I'm allowed to moor wherever I'm at. It's Mooring Law is the name of it or whatever. So they didn't think that was a real thing. And I was like, sir, just ask your supervisor. I'll be like, ask him. And they thought they went to call the Coast Guard guys to come down to talk to us. And when they said what they were doing to the Coast Guard guys, completely switched the situation. They were like, leave them alone. Like, what are you guys doing? Go do something better with your time. Like, no. Yeah, absolutely. That's 2 years in a row. We go to the same spot because our dock isn't at a mooring dock or whatever. I don't have a floating dock on poles, so it's just not as safe as where we would have been. So, yep, absolutely. Uncle Ray, I love you. Amazing to see you. Yes, sir.
Still trying to get that boat set up down south? God damn, it's good to see you. I love you, brother. Hey, I'll talk to y'all. Go Bucks, Uncle Ray. Thank you, Tim, brother. I love you, brother. Great story. You go back and check that out, and that's family out here, and that's how we roll here on Madeira Beach. Bucks life, just so many Bucks fans popping up. You see all people over here having a great time. And I'll go back again to the Jaden Daniels thing. I'm talking about the fact that, I don't think he's going to get robbed out of it, but it was the fact that this committee is able to go, because let's be honest, comparing the Florida State Seminoles of 2023 with the TCU Horned Frogs of last season and how they got smoked, Dykes, and the fact that he came from the Leech Tree. Peter and I covered that with last year's ReliaQuest Bowl here between Mississippi State and the Fighting Illini. But you talk about, they can exclude, and I said, the fact that they expand these playoffs to 12 teams playoffs in 2024, it makes it easy to go, look, it's one last season. 100% the Florida State Seminoles to be there. And I do believe Jaden Daniels picks up that Heisman. And again, I look forward to interviewing that kid over here at the ReliaQuest Bowl. Keep it locked here on the Sports Web because we're going to have you covered, Peter Blake and myself, and Travis Bailey of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, and all the group, all the gang over at Amped Up Sports, because that's what we do here in Tampa Bay. Thanks for the comments here. Jim Melvin, good to see you, brother. Jim says, I'm a lifelong FSU fan. When the great debacle was first announced, I tried to rationalize it and see both sides, but the time has passed, the angrier I've become. And Jim, I'm not trying. Again, I talked about that scab still being fresh. My problem is that this Florida State team would have had a month to get ready to face whomever they would have faced in that 4.
And I'm not sure I can say any of these five. I can't say Michigan's going to beat. I can't say who's going to beat who. But I would have taken my chances with a Fear the Spear, one tribe. I would have taken my chances with a Florida State team against any of those other three teams that would have been in the Final Four with them, especially with the month to prepare. You get your second string quarterback. You get the confidence because, again, like I said, you just had the injury at quarterback literally 5 minutes ago. The team was still trying to adjust to that. They were still reeling from that deal, and they still kept it undefeated. They still locked it in. You give them a month to prepare, and I pose that they would have been prepared. Big travesty, but that's why I wanted to transition it over to Jaden Daniels because that kid at 100% has done things in college football that no other quarterback has done. And I want to talk about that in a second, but let me get the rest of these comments. I appreciate it. Rob Thompson, you need to come out to Riveters Tampa for the Crew Life Watch Party. Rob, I know Peter came over here, and I 100% am coming over here because I've seen the party you guys are having, and I appreciate you inviting me. I've already contacted the management at Riveters, and we're going to make that happen because at the end of the day, it's a Bucs life, baby. Tim Haynes says, good evening, Ray. Old school Buccaneers. Love it. You love that? I tell you what, this shirt is just awesome. I actually have my skull cap, my Buck skull cap. Little warm out here. A little warm out here on the 8th of December here in Deer Beach, but still, I wanted to keep it real with my shirt. Jim Sutton says, Tampa Bay Ray, get it together. Buccaneers win, win, win no matter what. Yes, 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 and yes. Even with Levante back in practice, you don't know what's going on, Devin. You got to have Ryan Neal. You got to have Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts. Because don't forget, Arthur Smith was the tight ends coach with Tennessee, becomes the OC, comes to Atlanta. He likes to use those tight ends. One of the reasons why you got a Kyle Pitts and they signed Jonnu Smith as a free agent is the fact that you want to use those tight ends. You got Bijan, who's now starting to become a little bit more of a workhorse, a little more used, and Algier, at running back. You got to protect the middle and the short, medium stuff. Drake London got off a little late last time because our Buccaneers, the key to it is our Buccaneers offense has to matriculate down the field, retain possession, give our defenses a chance to do a checkup from the neck up. Don't let Arthur Smith and the Falcons figure out what's going to work against this Buccaneers defense. Lock up the middle, watch the short and intermediate stuff, watch the play action, and, the Buccaneers have no problem locking it down. And they get this win this week, and it starts them down that road to winning their third consecutive NFC South title. And I would pose maybe we're not the Giants in 2014 when they went and they finally knocked off the Patriots in the Super Bowl to end that perfect season, but a wild card team, and we would be a divisional team, but a team that maybe isn't the strongest going into the playoffs. I still pose that the Eagles want to sound fair and square, but if we'd have more of an offense versus those 49ers, if we'd had more of an offense versus those Buffalo Bills, if we'd had a little bit more of an offense versus those Indianapolis Colts, this Buccaneers team, who's played a very hard schedule in 2023, we'd have 2 or 3, maybe 4 more wins right now. And this team, as we get toward the postseason and get healthy at the right time, this team could do some serious damage in the National Football League. That's what I'm excited about. Christopher Cole says, hi, everyone. Hey, Christopher, how are you tonight, my friend? Didn't do my sound check. You were a little late, but I appreciate you. Jim Sutton says, to talk about this win on Sunday. Can we win or thank you or you thank you and about it? Jim, I think 100% we win this game on Sunday. And I've said this all along. This Buccaneers team that was supposed to, Peter King and the national media, we were supposed to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, supposed to be the worst team. That's been one of the things that's been a little bit more of a harder pill to swallow over the last month and a half or so, is that it seemed like this team was like living up to their expectations to have troubles because we know they've got too many dogs on this team and they got too much talent on this team to be, losing these close games like that. But I think we saw last week, you're starting to run the ball outside. You're starting to find a little more consistency on the offensive side of the ball. McLaughlin's just been locking it in all year. And Jake Camarda, my love for him. 100% this team should win this week. This team should win next week. And this team should go to Green Bay. And even if it's below 38 degrees, we know the Buccaneers can still win now when it's cold. Jordan Love, the Packers, I know it's romantic. Jordan Love, he's a guy, he's back. This Buccaneers team should beat those Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. I would pose you beat the Falcons this week and get that divisional matchup, but then you go to Green Bay next week and beat the Packers on their home turf, and we'll re-announce back to the world the Buccaneers are real, they are back, and we're ready for the playoffs in 2024. 3. Jim Sutton said, payoffs. Now we're back to talking about the college and the name, image, and likeness. Talk about this. I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to keep reading these comments, but I'm going to work it back to something about the portal and transfer portal. Christopher Cole says Daniels probably won't even be at Ray J. Well, I think whether or not he plays, Christopher, 100% he's there because of obviously you want to be there to support your team, and he's not going in the top. He's not one of your top quarterbacks. So I think therein lies. Peter Blake and I were talking about this. Like, does he play? Doesn't he play? Why wouldn't he play to complete that career? May not play. Still think he's going to be there, and he's going to hear Tampa Bay Ray wants to ask him some questions about winning that Heisman in 2023. Jim Sutton says, I'm a lifelong FSU fan as well. My friend was telling me it's always been like this. It's about the money, not the game anymore. I don't want to believe him. Even ESPN message it. ESPN owns the right to the SEC. Bama sneaks in after beating Georgia. They're in the SEC. The SEC might have been locked out of the playoffs. I had to do it if they don't get in there like that. I posed that it was more about the gambling. I posed that maybe people were like, "Oh, we want to see this," but I think that if we just saw a Georgia, if it would have been like a 6 or an 18 playoffs, and you just saw Georgia and Alabama in there, then it would have been okay. There's a lot of the fix going on in here. And so this right now, like I said, just because it expands to 12 next year, it gave that committee a chance to go, "Oh, we're sorry, we want Florida State." Let me explain to y'all why Florida State didn't get in because of the injury at quarterback. Undefeated, and this Florida State team is just more than just a quarterback. Although one would pose they had one hell of a quarterback in 2024-23, and they will continue to have a better quarterback back next season. Hope a guy comes back from that. But getting locked out was just terrible. I don't want to keep pulling that scab. Jim Melvin says, is the Chris Godwin situation for real or just a bunch of hot air? Chris Godwin's wife is going to stick up for him. They're only going to contain it for so long. I think that some of these players on the offensive side of the ball, and I posed that the only reason why I thought Todd Bowles would maybe not be your Buccaneers coach in 2024 is if he lost that locker room. And we go back to Clyde Christensen as the OC back, offensive coordinator back in 2000 or 1999. And the fact that Coach Dungy would not get rid of Clyde Christensen. He would not go out there and find the offensive help that we wanted. And we had Uncle Monty, we had the defense, we had the Hall of Fames over there. But Tony Dungy was insistent on keeping that offense. There comes a certain, and even back then, you remember Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch, just some of the players we had back then. I'm sorry, it's getting a little loud here. They didn't open it up. But after a while, you start to, hey, why come this is not going on? Why is this not going on? I don't know what the source of that frustration is there, Jim. I do believe that there's obviously something really going on because the reason why Chris's wife said something was because there is some frustration there. I'm not sure if it comes from Chris at the top or if it's just her as a wife protecting her husband, the ones we love saying something. But I mean, in this day and age, when any idiot could get on X or whatever and comment and people take it for gospel, when people can report the news in 140 characters and not even have it sourced or have anybody backing it up and people take it for gospel, I would pose that a husband or a wife or a spouse or a loved one, or God bless if I had kids and my kids were 12 years old and they were like, my dad deserves it. Give my dad the damn ball. I would pose that you're not going to run my kids up. You're not going to persecute them or go back to me. I would pose it's just frustration because they want to see dad do well. And I think in this case, she wants to see Chris do well. So I don't have a problem with it. I just don't know where it comes from. I want to go back to the transfer portal. And let me tell you guys why. Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, all three of them were transfers, right? Indiana, Ohio State, and then where did Bo Nix come from? And then, so all three of your four, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. is your dog there at wide receiver for the Ohio State. But three of your quarterbacks are up there for the Heisman. All three are transfers. And this is what I want to ask you all this tonight. And not for bad thing. I think we're learning that the transfer portal is the way it's supposed to work. An Alabama or a Georgia or whomever, they get 17 blue chips at quarterback, 5-star, 4-star athlete, parade All-America. Is that even a thing anymore? And after a year or two, when the chips fall, I said chips, but chips, when the chips fall, they realize that, okay, this isn't where I'm going to be. So they get into the portal and they go to a program. And I will pose to you, go back to 2019. Of course, I'm going to work at the Kyle Trask, but Kyle Trask was backing up Philippi Franks at University of Florida. And Philippi had the injury the year before. Kyle got in there, showed what he could do, showed some flashes of brilliance. And that offseason, there was no shortage of FBS schools that were calling Kyle Trask. They were contacting him. They were like, hey, and this is even before the portal got even to where it is today, because we've seen it change. Last year, 18% it was up from the year before, 2022, the amount of people or students getting into the portal. FBS schools were lining up and calling Kyle Trask, come play for us. Come here. You've been under Dan Mullen. We've seen what you can do. You filled in for Philippi when he was injured. And, of course, Kyle Trask said, no, I'm going to finish what I started here. I'm going to stay here with my dogs. I'm going to stay here at University of Florida. And, of course, it was a good decision because he ends up winning the camp battle over Philippi Franks, who ended up being a tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. And he ends up going 11-4, throwing, 39 touchdowns versus like 6 interceptions, and ends up being a finalist himself, Kyle Trask was, for the Heisman Trophy in 2019. Good move. So in some instances, you're going to have players that are going to say, no, I'm going to stay where I'm at, even if it means that they're not guaranteed that starting position. Or one would pose, maybe Kyle Trask was so sure of himself at that point that he said, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to beat Philippi Franks for the starting job. And, of course, he ended up doing that, beating Philippi in camp, and got the job at the University of Florida. But it wasn't just like this is something new as the portal's gotten around. Let me get these comments. I got some more comments coming in here. Oh, Tim Haynes says Auburn, right? Auburn was where Bo Nix went before he went to Oregon. 100%. Tim, thanks for the assist, bro. Jim Sutton says, famous Jameis Winston, FSU. Yeah, but Jameis didn't transfer from anywhere. But go back and look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was at Ohio State, the Ohio kid, before he transfers to LSU. Again, another LSU quarterback, and he wins the Heisman Trophy. Can anybody think of another quarterback that maybe played at Texas Tech before he transferred to Oklahoma and won the Heisman Trophy? Can anyone think of another quarterback that played behind that quarterback at Oklahoma for 3 years and ended up winning the Heisman Trophy? Anybody? Christopher Cole says Bulls defense is top 10 in points allowed. If the offense scores 24 points a game, we'd be way ahead of the division, probably second or third in the NFC. Yeah, Christopher. Ball control, ball control, ball control. We want to see the Bucs win that third consecutive NFC South, regardless of how they get there. I'll take the first place schedule next year. Damn the schedule. I still think that this Jason Light, this team that they're building here, it's not a rebuild, it's a reload. It really is. And I say that even as the Bucs are eating $80 million in cap this year from some of the decisions they made in previous. The fact of the matter is this Buccaneers team just continues to put dogs in there, and I take the first place schedule to get that third consecutive NFC South title. But if you're not controlling that ball, if you don't have an offense that's got that running game going, if you're not giving your defense a chance to get off the field, and you're giving the opposing team's offense nothing but chances to figure out what does work against you, then you're not going to go very far in those playoffs. Playoffs? I said playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah. But you got to get that ball control. Chris, great point. The Dodge Bulls defense is still there. You get half an offense. Dave Canales says get ball control offense to go with that defense. The Bucs have 3 more wins right now. We've got the South already locked up. In fact, we got a little Y next to our name that says clinched playoff berth. We're waiting for the X to get in there after we beat the Saints, the Falcons, and lock up the division. That's the way that would be right now if we had a little bit of offense. It seems like over the years, it's always the Buccaneers we're looking for an offense, but that's okay. As long as we're in the running, that's all that matters. It's a good start. Jim Melvin says the throwback Bucs sweatshirt is not only cool, but it also looks professionally laundered. Jim, it is. I appreciate that. I keep it. I hang it, and let me tell y'all. I don't know if you can see this. This is actually raised. It's actually like the old Bucs, like the uniform. You can see it. Let me see if I can get a. It's actually, yeah, you see that it's raised. It's actually like if I were blind, and I'm not saying I'm not making fun of it. If I were blind, I'd be like, oh, that is so Bucko Bruce. Oh, and he is so sexy. It's raised, but it's an awesome shirt, and I love my Bucko Bruce shirt, so I appreciate that. And it is professionally laundered because I washed it and I hung it. Actually, my wife did. I don't know why I took credit for that. Tim Sutton says, you look at our quarterback I heard for FSU, Jordan Travis. Yeah, because that was the biggest heartbreak. I said this week. I said it on the Sports Web with Peter Blake the other night. The biggest heartbreak for me was seeing Jordan Travis go down. Obviously, and because of the link, FSU gets screwed out of being undefeated, not getting into the playoffs, but also what that kid was doing this season. One would pose very, very near, if not right on par for a Heisman Trophy type of season. Can't wait to see that kid get back next year. Jim Sutton says, Cam, hello. Good evening, everybody. Go Bucks. Okay. Y'all hesitated there. Jim says Cam Newton. Okay, so yeah, Cam Newton, University of Florida, transfers to Auburn, going back to Auburn. Yeah, 100%. Let me see where I was at. Yeah, Lucky. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, right? So Baker Mayfield's at Texas Tech. Lincoln Riley goes to Oklahoma. Baker transfers to Oklahoma. So we're talking about a Baker Mayfield and a Joe Burrow. And we're talking about a Jaden Daniels or a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix Jr. And you look at, I read it the last night. There's over 35 quarterbacks in the portal for this next season, and Notre Dame quarterbacks and Ohio State quarterbacks, and they're lining up. And I said this early on. That's basically what the transfer portal is. It's free agency for college football, but there's no salary cap. But we see the games we're getting, minus the FSU screw, but we're seeing the games we're getting. And I think that the model today is the fact that you can bring a quarterback in and give him a year or two from another program. And, you hit the ground running. And these quarterbacks are showing. And we saw it in the NFL in 2023. There's been 73 quarterbacks have either been undrafted free agents or rookies that never had playing time, and they got playing time this season. And of course, the tape's going to get out there, and teams are going to figure out their weaknesses. They're going to have sophomore slumps, but we're seeing it now more than ever that these quarterbacks are coming right in. And I'm not saying you still don't need to have a CJ Stroud who stays at Ohio State his entire career and then goes to Texas or Houston. That's still a model I believe that works as well. But I think we're seeing now. But don't forget, it's not like these guys jump in the transfer portal and then a month later they're winning a Heisman. It still takes a year. In all these cases, Baker, Joe Burrow, Nix, takes them a year to get with the program, and then they hit the ground running. And I would pose, as fans of college football, it gives us another year to watch these dogs stay at the college level. And even though we're never going to have a Mike Krzyzewski and a Christian Laettner and a Bobby Hurley and a 5-year, build it, Grant Hill, we're not going to have those dynasty type college. It's all one and done these days. But as these quarterbacks get into a portal, we can look at the film from where they came, but then they get to a new college and it takes them 2 years and they stay. It's not just they're going to jump to the league. Now with NIL, they can make a decision to stay another year to take a run at the Heisman or to take a run at the national championship. So that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. And I was hoping you all agree with me, guys and girls, that the face of college football, as much as it's changing, and it's changing a lot, not necessarily all for the worse. Some of it might be for the better, although something tells me at some point we're going to see things and we're going to go, but that's the downside. That's the other side of the coin, and maybe that's the side we weren't thinking about. Jim Melvin says one of the most disappointing parts about the Jordan Travis injury was that it happened at the stupidest time in the stupidest game. Should not have been in there, should have been already out of the game, should not have gotten injured. And you still see these coaches keeping these guys in. You still see them leaving these players in because they want to get that, that extra touchdown. They want to run those numbers up. Yeah, it shouldn't have been in there. Of course, hindsight's 20/20, and you're looking back on it. Of course, we'd all make that decision. But Jim, great point. Should have pulled that kid out. And maybe you see coaches, and you see a lot of these kids opting out of playing in these bowl games. But you see coaches maybe next season are like, look, let's get it in, let's get it done, let's get them out. But nowadays, it's all run and shoot, right? It's keep them within one score, and then we'll win it in the fourth quarter. There's no more where you don't have your, your teams that go in there and we're going to kick the crap out of them and get up by 40 points. If you have that, then you can pull a player out and let the backups get some experience. But the truth of the matter is, the backups don't need experience because why? They're going to jump in that transfer portal in a couple of months anyway and go to another school. Jim says they're lucky that Jordan Travis got hurt, so they can use their excuse. Yeah, because I think the Florida State Seminoles, they would have, 100%. And I would have liked to have seen the FSU. It reminds me when FSU and Michigan matchup reminds me of back when Charlie Ward was quarterback at Florida State, and Florida State went into the big house there at Ann Arbor, 115,000. I think Desmond Howard was a wide receiver with Michigan, and I think it was 1985 or 86. I remember I was 17 or 16 out here on the beach at a Shell gas station. My cousin worked at, and we're watching the game on the TV there on a Saturday because that's what, back then that's what you did. You didn't have 100 channels and a devoted TV in the house, so we were out here watching that game in those days. And I would have I'd give anything to see Jordan Travis healthy in a good Florida State Michigan matchup, because chances are Harbaugh would have self punished himself for doing something stupid, and he would have stayed away. And he'd be flying overhead and using Bluetooth to send the signals down. I'm so tired of that narrative. I want to see, as much as I want to see Jim Harbaugh coaching at the NFL level, because the guy already did it with the 49ers. Yeah. Oh, y'all walked right in the middle of it. I'm just kidding. It's okay. Have a good evening, y'all. Jim says, Jordan Travis was going for the Heisman. Yeah, he 100% was, but I don't know if he'd have gotten there, Jim, but he was trying. I don't want to hear it FSU all day, 100%. Oh, Adam Weiler with a big comment. Practice my pipes here. Ray, are you trying to go with the Peter Blake facial hair now? Just curious. Totally agree. We need to keep opposing offenses off the field. That being said, our defense needs to be consistent. Good, stout defense, all 4 quarters. No missed tackles. I get that we've been banged up. Every team's banged up. Great point there, Adam. Every team's banged up at this point of the year. Bucks win changes up the wild card hunt in the NFC for certain. Because we got to quit this patty cake. Because the narrative's going to be the rest. Let me make sure I got enough battery, y'all, because I am on no battery tonight. And I've got 18 minutes. The narrative is going to be the NFC South sucks. No matter how you guys slice it, no matter how we want it, we could go on a run. We could beat every team 50-0. The narrative from now till the end of time is going to be all the NFC South stinks. So don't play into that narrative, Bucks. Don't play into that narrative. Woe is us. We're going to win one. We're going to lose one. We're going to win one. We're going to lose one. Let's get out of the Baker Mayfield cycle of death, right? Win one. Baker plays really great. The national media gives him all kinds of love. Baker plays bad. The national media wants to run him out of town. Baker plays great. Baker, break your own cycle. Bucks, break your own cycle. Forget what the national media is saying. You shouldn't have been listening in the first place. Go into Atlanta, take care of business this Sunday. Lock it up. Win it out. They can call the NFC South what they want. At the end of the day, it's another title for your division. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. You can only play the divisional opponents in your division. It wasn't us that made the division suck. It was the fact that Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, 55 champions, have punked them like we did back in 2002, the first year we were in the NFC South. Love that. Quick story. I know y'all remember this story. Wife and I had tickets on a 50-yard line in the Superdome to go that November 2002, the year we won a Super Bowl. We had Super Bowl playoffs. We had tickets. My wife got them for Christmas. Thanksgiving dinner, we ate dinner at the family's house, and right from dinner, the wife and I were already packed. We get in a Thunderbird, and we head straight up I-75, make a left on 10, head straight over, went to the Big Easy, stayed in the best bed and breakfast on the end of Bourbon Street, had beignets every day, got so drunk. Not really, but a little bit. Red Light District. Okay, did the whole cemetery tour. Went to the Superdome. The Bucks got beat pretty bad that game. We did, but we represented. I had the shirt on. That's how we do. Bucks, that's how we do, Bucks fans. I know that's how y'all do. They beat us that game. We got scoreboard because it was our first year in the NFC South, the newly created division, and we not only punked the Falcons, the Saints, and the Panthers, but we punked the entire National Football League as we beat the Oakland Raiders to win 37. Same thing now. The South is going to be the worst division in football. Someone has to win it. Lock it down, Bucks. Half of this team has a ring from 55. You already know what it takes to get there, and you're not burnt out because it's been a couple of years. Lock it in. Get it done. Win the South. We'll talk about the playoffs in a minute. Jim says we should punish the college football for doing underfeed a team like that. And I said that right away. I'm like, you know what? Florida State should just go. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna protest. We're not gonna play it again. They lose money. Coach will tell you that it's all about the recruits. You don't want that image. You don't want to be the team that's, you don't want to be that team. You want to show up, play the game, beat Georgia, but play the game. How y'all doing? Oh, Michigan fans. Okay. There you go. We're talking about Michigan. Well, I was saying that as much as I like Harbaugh, I was saying I would have liked to have seen a Florida State-Michigan matchup and Florida State not gotten screwed out of the playoffs.
They got dissed.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we'd have beat you. I'm just saying I'm a Gator guy. But, I mean, I would have seen that. Now, as it is, who are you guys playing? You're playing Texas, right? Alabama. Yeah. Well, good luck to y'all. No, we're talking ball. We talk sports here in Tampa Bay area. So, yeah. But, I was thinking that. Oh, brother. I love you, brother. Hey, good. Tell your dad I'm going to talk to you soon, okay? Take care. Hey, y'all. Take care, y'all. But, yeah, so go blue. Even Michigan fan says he would agree to it. I forget where I was, so let me get back to these comments. Jim says, treating an undefeated team like that. Yeah, that was the disrespectful part. I mean, because the one-loss teams make it in there, and I would pose again, you give them a full month to get ready for that game. It wasn't a good look. And I hope Jaden Daniels wins that Heisman Trophy. If they give it to Penix, I feel kind of bad saying it because Penix is a local kid made good. He went to Indiana, moves to Washington, Tampa Tech. He's a good kid. Some had posed that would be maybe a good Buccaneer. I never could get, even when we had Steve Young, the whole left-handed Michael Vick the whole left-handed quarterback thing. It's just it's going to take a minute to get used to it. I'm not saying it can't be done, and maybe it's an advantage to have a left-handed quarterback to come from a different angle. So that's going to take a minute. But Jaden Daniels has 100% earned his Heisman in 2023. Let's see if for some reason they want to give it to somebody who's in the Final Four, like a Penix Jr. Maybe they give it to a guy that's in there, continues that national narrative, because at the end of the day, it's all about what? That's right, the Benjamins. Jim Melvin says, unless they can get a pick six and win a turnover battle, I don't see the Bucs winning on Sunday. Hold on, Jim. I had to finish that highlight. It's so good. I don't know about the turnover battle, but they're going to have to watch. Again, you're going to have to watch the tight ends and the play action, because if they wish they had Ryan Tannehill, as ironic as it says, because again, Arthur Smith came from Tennessee because Ryan Tannehill with the play action. But they wish they had that, because the Jonnu Smith and the Kyle Pitts and Bijan, you're going to have to watch that short intermediate game. Brother, you guys take care. I love you, and we'll see you soon. Oh, you like that? Look at it. It's raised. Feel it. Go ahead. Isn't it awesome? I was just telling everyone it's raised. Yeah, it's always right. Yeah, thank you. Come over here and say hi to everybody. Oh, you got to go. Go. Come, but next time you guys come here, stop in and we'll do an interview, okay? Yes. Battery's almost going out, so I got to end this. But yeah, turnover battle. Jim Sutton says the Buccaneers need to win this weekend 100%. Christopher Cole says the only losses that we have scored 24 points a game is Eagles, Bills, 49ers, and Texans. So that's 8-4 with 5 to play. And we should have won 3 of those games had our offense had a consistent kept the ball. Let me finish. Jim Sutton says Tampa Bay better not tank no more. No, they're not tanking. I hope not. Mike Stover says punish the Falcons 100%. Hey, guys and girls, thanks for joining me. It's been a cup of Ray. I'm sorry we didn't get into it. I'll expound on the whole Heisman thing a little more and the whole transfer portal. It's an interesting subject. Please share the show, even if it's a little quickie here. My son and my daughter here right now. We're going to go play some football over in the park and get some pizza. Hey, guys, girls, if I don't see you guys again this weekend, remember how I end every one of these things. Oh, my God, I got to get my guy JC out in here. Hey, Tampa Bay Ray, the Bucs. No, JC. If I can tell y'all right now, JC, I love Pat and Aaron, but you're the best part of that show. I swear to God, I wasn't kidding with you. There is very few things in this world that'll have me wait through commercials. But when they tease it with J.C. Allen of SI and bringing it in and locking it down, brother, not only because your coverage of the Buccaneers, but your in-depth knowledge. But I've known you since you were a dog and you moved down here. I hope the family's doing well this holiday season. But all they have to do is tease it with J.C. Allen, and I'm not changing the station. They kept me in there, brother, and you did not disappoint. Everyone needs to know someone cares this weekend. Be the one who lets them know. Thanks for joining me. Share the show. I love you guys, and we'll see you on the next Cup of Ray.